It's time!
What's kicking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin' Fights. I'm Keith, joined as always by my good friend Tom. Tom, ¿qué pasa, amigo?
Bien. There is a fantastic card, UFC 310, coming up this weekend. I won't watch it. I will be in the woods hanging out, celebrating my girlfriend's birthday, but I'm going to come back, catch all the highlights, and can't wait to see what happens. Plenty of good fights to talk about today. And, dude, it's just not even a sneaky good card, but like every time you go back to look at, like, damn, just every fight is really, really good. Includes a guy that, you can definitely say something right off the top of your head about. So I'm pumped about this card. How you doing tonight?
I am excited. I hope to be watching. I hope to. Plan on it. I'm not going out into the woods. Are you going to have no Wi-Fi, or is this like a demand, or like a thing? Like, oh, you just know you're not going to be doing it, or was it like?
No, I think it's. I mean, it's in the woods. We're going to be hiking, and we're going to be cooking steaks on like a cast iron and stuff. So I think it's like more about like on the side of glamping. You know what I mean? Like, it's not quite camping. We still have the house and whatever, but we're out there in the woods on like kind of like a pseudo campsite, as I'm told. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. But just not going to be able to catch this card. But I'll catch it afterwards. And like I said, there's so many good fights that I can't wait to see what happens. And yeah, man, really interesting what happened.
I'm sad you're missing it because I'm absolutely pumped. There's a lot of names on here that I'm so stoked for.
So many names, dude.
Like, you look at some of them, I'll tell you one guy that stands out to me big time. Nate Landwehr is a huge name that I'm like, oh, that's going to be an exciting fight. And then you have guys like Vicente Luque, who's really never been in a boring match. Sorry, my laptop is dying. I just plugged it in. But yeah, you have so many names on here. And then you have also names that you're just like, what the hell are they doing there? Like Kron Gracie is on the main card somehow. And Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling is on the prelims, like deep in the prelims, not even a featured prelim. So it kind of speaks to the star power of this card, that you have fights on the main card that you're a little confused about. And like I mentioned, Kron Gracie, there is a counterpart there that maybe is deserving of a main card spot, and a little bit more exciting. I'm super pumped with this one overall. I think it's from start to finish going to be an exciting card. A lot of banging, a lot of knockouts, a lot of fun finishes. So I'm stoked. And then you have the meat and potatoes, those last three cards. We'll get into those a little bit later. But yeah, this UFC, what is it, 310?
310.
Yeah. And for those of you counting at home, I will be taking 310 shots of Jameson throughout the course of this episode. If you don't believe me, hit me up in the comments. If you're counting, hit me up in the comments. You may even not know. I mean, some of them might be water, some of them might be Jameson. But yeah, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of my challenge to myself. And also let us know what you think of our picks. While you're there, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, when you're subscribing, right, like this weekend when Tom's out in the woods, I'm going to be texting him about what happens during the fights. And if he has service, then he'll get my notifications. And when you subscribe to us, there's a bell next to the subscribe button where if you hit that bell, it'll notify you when we go live. So the same way I'm going to be notifying Tom about the fights this weekend when he's in the woods, if you hit that bell, you'll also get notified when we go live. And you can check us out on Spotify as well. And Twitter @Pick and Keith. X @Pick and Keith, @Pick and Fights Tom, and Instagram and X @_Pick and Winners. Should just be Pick and Fights at this point, I think. And Tom's brought that up in the past. We're going to change that because where the hell are those other guys? But anyway, we're still grinding. So with that being said, let's jump into our prelim notables, which is pretty much it. Yeah, pretty much every prelim fight on this card is notable. And even the ones that may not be, I think, are notable. First up, we got Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Lucas Brzeski. And I'm going with Kennedy. Kennedy's looking a lot better than he did in his first couple of UFC fights. He's really using that length to his advantage. I believe he moved up from Unless, yeah. Is this a light heavyweight or heavyweight? Yeah, no, this is a heavyweight. Kennedy Nizichukwu at heavyweight looks great, and there's not a lot of like really long, rangy guys that use the kickboxing like he does. Lucas Brzeski wants to get in there and throw power punches. I think Kennedy's going to keep him at bay with that long range. He tries to be like a Cyril Gahn type of guy when it comes to like those kicks up the middle, body kicks, a lot of good body work, and just like I said, real rangy, real rangy. So I got Kennedy Nizichukwu over Lucas Brzeski. What do you got, Tom?
Yeah, agree with you. I think Lucas Brzeski's, only win is over Walter Walker, who's, as we realize, not that good. Kennedy is really long, really powerful. But yeah, I think it's there's a reason why I think 95, 99% of Tapology is on him. Speaking of I guess interesting fights with notable fighters in it. Clay Guida taking on Chase Hooper. Clay Guida, 42 years old now, taking on 25-year-old newcomer to the 155 division, Chase the Dream Hooper. He's super long, 74-inch reach. Actually, only a 4-inch reach advantage, but 6 inches in height. We last week saw him at the 155-pound division. He looked really good, strong, had really good striking, and was able to wrap up a Darce choke on Vyacheslav Borisov. Slavakov is one of your favorites there, Keith. And got submissions over Jordan Levitt, rear naked choke. He's just exhibited that he's a lot stronger at 155 pounds, and I think a guy like Clay Guida, even though he's 42 years old, I think we're going to see a grappling match. I'm not so sure that Chase Hooper is going to be able to finish Clay Guida, but I do think he's going to be able to spend a lot of time on his back, moving around him, and ultimately winning probably on the feet too because of his range. Clay Guida is probably going to get in close, and then Chase Hooper is going to be able to probably wrestle him to the ground in some kind of weird. I want to call him the octopus because the way he just kind of slinks around the guy that he's on top of, the paws. But anyway, yeah, I'm going with Chase Hooper to get this one by decision. How about you, Keith?
Chase the Dream sounds so much better than Chase Teenage Dream Hooper. Like now, like makes sense. Like, oh, he's chasing the dream, and I really do believe he is. He moved up from 145, like you mentioned, and 155 looks a lot better. And you did say Vyacheslav Borisov, one of my guys, and he made him look not great. I mean, he really went out there and he outstruck Vyacheslav Borisov and in a lot of positions, and then capitalized with his grappling when Vyacheslav was compromised. Darce choke. Clay Guida used to be like a huge favorite of mine, and I still like the guy a lot. He is a wild man. I love the burps on the stool, and I used to play as Clay Guida a lot in the old UFC games before I knew anything about who anybody was because he just looked so cool. Still think Chase Hooper is going to go out there and get the dub. He's younger. He's faster. He's so much more complete in so many different ways. And Clay Guida's biggest, I don't know, his like the thing that Clay Guida always had going for him was his chin, and he was good in bouts against strikers like Diego Sanchez in the past, and like going years back, he could always withstand a punishment when it came to punching. But when it comes to his grappling and his submission game, he's a great wrestler. But I think Chase Hooper is going to take advantage of that and be the better guy in that realm. So going with Chase Hooper here. Big favorite, but I'll take it. Nice parlay leg. Next up, Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. Ooh, this is actually a tough one. What do you think, Tom?
Max Griffin is the favorite. Although, if you look back down at Tapology, 65% is on Chiesa. I think I just made a bet to myself that I would never bet on Chiesa again because I think, time in and time again, when I bet on him or I think he's going to win, he just kind of ends up disappointing me. We look back, at the last 5 in here, you got Neil Magny decision win almost 4 years ago, lost to Vicente Luque by Darce, lost to Sean Brady by decision, lost to Kevin Holland by Darce, and he's got a win over Tony Ferguson by rear naked choke. How much do we really want to count that? And then you look at Max Payne Griffin here. You got, win over Carlos Condit, an old Carlos Condit, split decision loss over Neil Magny. You have the split decision win over Tim Means, always a tough out, Tim Dirty Bird Means. The Michael Morales decision loss there just around a year, 9 months ago. Split decision win over Jeremiah Wells. It's a tough one. Max is a little bit older than Michael Chiesa here. I think I would tend to rest with the guy who has got better grappling. I don't think we've seen look at Max Griffin. How many submissions do we got? 2 submissions or 1 win or one in the first, one in the second, 2 submissions. I'm not necessarily looking for Max Griffin to lock up that Darce choke. That seemed to be really the arch enemy of Michael Chiesa. So with that being said, I think I'm going to go with Michael Chiesa to get this one done. But I'm probably not going to bet on it just for the sheer fact that every time I bet on Michael Chiesa, it seems to bite me in the ass. So not going to get caught this time.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like I said, I was conflicted about this one, and it's because you look at Michael Chiesa's most recent fights, and I don't think that Max Griffin is the guy to lock up the Darce choke. I don't think he's as skilled in his jiu-jitsu. Damn, bro, y'all wildin'. Said SC. All right, SC, let us know in the comments what we're wilding about, because Michael Chiesa, listen, well, it's tough. It's tough. Michael Chiesa's striking stinks, but Max Griffin is not the type of guy to go to the ground with Michael Chiesa and take advantage of a slip up in the grappling, right? Like a Kevin Holland could do that. Kevin Holland, we can't forget, is a jiu-jitsu black belt. Kevin Holland knocked out Jacare Souza off his back. Yes, they both are bums. Yes, SC, they are both bums. But I think that Michael Chiesa might be the better bum because he's fought the better competition. He's hung around there with better guys. There was at one point when we looked at Michael Chiesa and said, this high school wrestling coach, he could be the guy at one point, and then he's fallen off so hard. But I don't think that Max Griffin is Vicente Luque. When Vicente Luque fought Michael Chiesa, that was about Vicente Luque's last great fight when we were like, oh, this is a guy. And Kevin Holland is a jiu-jitsu black belt that's all great off of his back. And Max Griffin is not either one of those guys. So thank you, SC, for the comment. Yes, they both are bums. None of these guys are particularly great, but I just happen to think that Michael Chiesa is the better bum. But like you said, Tom, stay away from it with your wallet. I totally agree. Next up, Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. I'm going to go with Joshua Van here to get it done with his striking. Cody Durden, his wrestling hasn't looked as good as it was supposed to be. And while he's still a solid, great fighter, I mean, Joshua Van is 4-1 over his last 5. Match, right? Like, we're just going through Cody Durden's previous competition. And, I don't know. I like Joshua Van striking a lot here, and I like his takedown defense. So I'm going to go with Joshua Van. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add to that. Like you said, Cody Durden, wrestling. He's 33 years old now. Wrestling. I always kind of think of him as like the young kid, but like I said, realizing he's 33, maybe on the latter end of his prime here. I think that his wrestling hasn't shown to be as dominant as maybe we thought it could be or would be or is. Joshua Van had solid takedown defense, and is a guy who can take a beating, and he still keeps coming at you. He's got strong striking, and you can tell by what Tapology has here. They think 83% on Van. I'm going to agree with them here at minus 165. I think that's a pretty good line there. I don't know if I'm expecting him to knock him out. He does have the unanimous win over Edgar Chairez, which I think is a solid opponent just about 2 months ago. He's got the knockout by Charles Johnson. I'm not necessarily fearing the knockout coming back from Cody Durden. You got the win by knockout over Felipe Burns. Cody Durden traditionally has a pretty strong chin. So I'm expecting him to, other than against Bruno Silva. But, hey, I'm going with Joshua Van to get this one done by decision.
Yeah, I like it. I like the pick. What's next?
Up next, we got, it's a good one. Chris Weidman, Eric Anders.
Ooh, I feel like we've talked about this one before. What do you think?
Yeah, I watched back the other show where we talked about this, and I ended up going with Chris Weidman. I thought that something weird could happen. I still kind of do. I think that Chris Weidman could end up, maybe being like a savvy veteran in some way, and ultimately, something wild happening. But I think the safer money is going to be on Eric Anders. He's minus 115, minus 105 for Chris Weidman, near even. 39% is on Anders, 61% is on Weidman. That does sway me just a little bit, but man, 40 years old against 37. Last time was 8 months ago. Bruno Silva, didn't look bad in that fight there. Bruno Silva has not, looked great as of late. You have, lost to Brad Tavares a year. Uriah Halls when he broke that leg. I don't know. What do you think?
I am so torn. Fuck. This is tough because it's. Why did that last one get canceled again? I can't remember.
I think Chris got like sick or something.
Oh no, yeah, Eric Anders got sick the day of.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a tough one because again, according to our boy SC and like agreeing with him, they are both bums. I mean, you can't say that Chris Weidman's like really a bum because he was the champ and he did knock out Anderson Silva. Just a history lesson for you newer fans. But Chris Weidman, and they're using the old gloves now too. That's the other thing. He is a big fan of the old gloves because he uses a lot of eye pokes.
Yeah, I'm going with Chris Weidman because he can poke him in the eye, and he wasn't sick a couple weeks ago, and he's a savvy veteran here. He's been the champ. There's something to be said about that. Yeah, give me Chris Weidman to get this one done.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could go back on like the UFC Instagram. I guess I'll just Google it, right? Because we want to know why exactly that Eric Anders fight was canceled. I believe it was Eric Anders that was sick the first time. Fuck. Can I find it? When you Google Eric Anders sick, he put a post on Facebook, who's ready for a face punching, #sick. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm leaning more towards Chris Weidman here. I think
Eric Anders falls ill.
Yeah, so it was Anders. All right, cool. My memory is not totally fucked up. What do we got next? Brian Battle versus Randy Brown. Oh my goodness. I am going to go a little bit contrarian here. Actually, not contrarian, according to the people at Tapology. I'm going with Brian Battle. That's my guy, Brian the Butcher Battle. He is probably my favorite fighter to come off of that season of The Ultimate Fighter. It used to be Ricky Tercios, but he stinks. Brian Battle, Brian Battle's last fight was UFC Paris, I believe. And that was that whole, like, you won't see me get knocked out by a Frenchman in a fist fight type deal. He fucked up whoever that was in UFC Paris. Whoever it was that he was fighting, it was like, ba-ba, ba-ba, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, over and over again. Killer, tore him apart, literally butchered him, lived up to his butcher name. I'm going with Brian Battle. Randy Brown has no power in his hand. Sure, he's technical and, he's got solid, he's intelligent and whatnot. I don't give a fuck how intelligent and technical you are when you go in there against Brian Battle, because Brian Battle will walk you down and he will hit you with that 1-2. And Randy Brown is susceptible to that, unfortunately. Guys that walk him down, Randy Brown's not great at. Randy Brown is a controlled distance. That's where he's comfortable type of guy. Sit back a little bit. And Brian Battle's not going to let that happen. Brian Battle's going to walk him down, and I think he's going to knock him the fuck out. So Randy Brown, RIP. Brian Battle, the Butcher. I expect him to butcher him. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm still going with Brian Battle, but I will say that I've seen a lot of fights where Randy kind of like walks back a little bit and tries to throw some like hooking action stuff, and that's why Brian Battle is throwing the 1-2 is going to work, especially if he's able to get in there fairly quickly and beat Randy Brown. Looking at him, he's about 2 inches shorter, but he's only got maybe a 1 inch reach disadvantage, if any at all. Randy does use his length pretty well, but I still expect Brian Battle, easy for you to say, to be able to, land some. I expect Randy, to have a little bit of success for sure, but ultimately I think Brian Battle is going to get this one done, and I do think he's going to knock him out maybe in the second or the third round. I could see it going to decision if it does go to decision. I mean, bottom line is I expect, Brian Battle to take the third round here. If it gets to it, I expect to see, that walking, pace landing big shots, and then, perhaps Randy just has a really good chin, is able to fend off, getting knocked out. But ultimately, I am going to go with Brian Battle to get this one done. And moving on to the next one is Moisar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. This is such a good battle, and you look at it, plus 200 for Aljamain. It's at 155, moving up. Is this his first fight at 155? No, it fought Calvin Kattar to a decision. I mean, he was able to take. he was able to take Calvin Kattar down a lot easier than we were maybe expecting it to. I believe I took Calvin Kattar in that fight. Moisar Evloev is a stronger grappler than Calvin Kattar is for sure. We've seen that against a numerous amount of opponents. He's beaten Arnold Allen, didn't use grappling there, but Diego Lopez, he took that on short notice, and Diego Lopez was a lot better, as we've seen, than we expect him to be. And for Moisar Evloev still to go out there and get the win, it was contested, but he was still able to fight with battle with a guy like Diego Lopez, who's so such superiority in the UFC. And then none of these other guys, like you look at Dan Ige, you don't see Dan Ige getting muscled around a ton unless you're by a top quality grappler. And so that is Moisar Evloev. And then Aljamain Sterling, sure, maybe he might get some of the better, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold Moisar Evloev down, especially not 10 pounds heavier than he was. Moisar is good. They're about the same height. Moisar's a little bit longer than him, but he's a lot stockier. He's a lot more stout than Aljamain Sterling is. I know he was really big for 145, but he's not going to be big for 155. And I think that extra weight is going to help Moisar Evloev here. Yeah, I think he has better hands as well, for sure. So I'm going with Evloev to get this one done. Tapology seems to think by decision. So, you look back at the wins, decision. I would say decision for Moisar Evloev. What do you think, Keith?
I think that for Aljamain Sterling to be the first bantamweight 135er to defend the belt, right, against Jan Cejudo 3 times, right? He defended it a 3rd time before he lost to O'Malley.
Yep.
Who was the 3rd one, too? That's what's. I mean, you should be able to see it right there, right? It should be 1, 2, 3 back.
Jan Dillashaw.
TJ Dillashaw. That's right. When TJ Dillashaw had that fucked up shoulder, I will say, people are sleeping on Aljo because those 3 guys right there, and say what you will about that fight and the state that those fighters came into those fights at, I don't care. To be the first fighter to defend the 135 belt against Petr Yan, Henry Cejudo, and TJ Dillashaw is such
I will say, I mean, okay, sure. Yes, I hear you. But also remember, he didn't really defend the belt against Petr Yan. He really kind of won the belt against Petr Yan because of the disqualification. Okay. So he won the belt against Petr Yan, defended it against TJ Dillashaw that had a broken fucking shoulder to begin with. And then he beat Henry Cejudo by split decision.
Who was years off the sport.
Yeah, exactly. And then once he has decent competition, he gets knocked out by Sean O'Malley. Now, I'm not saying Aljo's not really good, but I think all of that deserves to be mentioned when we talk about Aljamain Sterling as a champion.
Yeah, so basically what I was just going to get into, and just keep it quick, is like how he beat those guys. Staying at range, staying to the outside, body work, incorporate the wrestling. His body kicks against Petr Yan, TJ Dillashaw, and Henry Cejudo all looked incredible. You and I actually got to see Henry Cejudo and Aljamain Sterling fight in person. That was fucking sick. That is probably the fight that I remember the least because it's when I was the most fucked up. But still awesome. And Aljamain Sterling at range, sit back, body kick, wham. That thing is like a baseball bat. His 1-2 ain't bad. He's got good leg kicks. He's good at range. He got caught by Sean O'Malley because the fellow with the red, Tim Welch, is a master at game planning. And he's like a John Jones, or even more so like a football coach when it comes to film study. If X happens, do Y. X happened against Sean O'Malley. Aljo goes in with that double jab. O'Malley sidesteps. Bang. Knocks him out. Moisar Evloev is not that guy. Now, maybe I'm just thinking that because I don't get to hear his film study sessions in Russian and understand what he's saying. But, yes, he's undefeated. But he's had risky moments in the past with a couple of fighters, Diego Lopez being one of them. Sure, Aljo doesn't have the power, but he has the grappling. And Moisar sometimes doesn't make great decisions. And he kind of leaves himself vulnerable a little bit. And I'm banking on a guy like Aljo, who is a champion. He's a verified champion. I hated the shit out of him when he was the champion. And then you look back and you realize, oh, he was actually somewhat active. He was pretty skillful. And he was like the heel because everybody hated him and you tuned in to want to see him lose. And he didn't until he fought O'Malley, who was the face in that fight, if you're looking back at old wrestling terms. Anyways, I just feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Aljo. He's a way more accomplished fighter than a lot of people give him credit for. He's had a long road. He's beaten some top tier guys, and I think that he can get through a challenge like Movsar Evloev. I genuinely believe that Aljamain Sterling could work his way up to a title shot at 145. Call me crazy, but the guy could. And it starts with a win over the undefeated Movsar Evloev, and I think that he gets that done this week. What do we got next? Sorry for that long-winded why I think Aljo could win, but I think he could.
No, I think it was good.
I'm willing to take him. Thank you, sir. Next up, we got Themba Gorimbo versus Vicente Luque. And I'm going with Themba Gorimbo here. Vicente Luque has looked like a shell of himself ever since he fought Michael Chiesa. We mentioned that. He's pulled out of fights. He's come in, looking not so great. And, I'm going with Vicente Luque. I think Themba Gorimbo, he's also, not just to say that Vicente Luque is not looking like himself, but also Themba Gorimbo is the story in the UFC. Came from poverty, came from another country. He's got a very Francis Ngannou arc coming out of, a very impoverished nation, making his way to the UFC, almost more so because he's telling his story while he's so much earlier in his career. And what that's allowing him to do is get a lot more help now earlier in his career. And so he's training at the best gyms, and he's training, he's been training with Colby Covington, training wrestling with him, and training a striking with some of the top tier striking guys out there. So, I think that you're going to see a very complete Themba Gorimbo that's going to enter the rankings because I believe Vicente Luque is 14 right now. And it'll be big for this guy to enter the rankings because he's definitely deserves to be a ranked fighter. He's definitely of that echelon. And I think that he's going to put on a masterclass against Vicente Luque this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're gonna unfortunately see Diego. What am I saying? Gonna see Vicente Luque's chin exposed here again. Themba Gorimbo, is a guy. Obviously, he's the one who's brought over. Dwayne Johnson is sponsoring his house. He has all these people who are behind him, and he's got very fast hands. He is 33 years old, so he's got to make it happen quick. Vicente Luque has kind of had his time in the sun inside of the UFC. Unfortunately, it didn't end up in championship gold for him, but I think at this point, a guy who kind of wore his chin on his sleeve as his calling card, being able to take a beating and give a beating, and that's why he was in such exciting fights. When your chin goes, there's really not much left there for you to really be able to rely on. So I'm going to have to go with Themba Gorimbo to get this one done. Minus 210 seems like a fair enough price to be able to add him to a parlay or take it straight up. Speaking of parlay, I'm going to parlay this one into the very next one, which is Anthony Smith taking on Dominic Reyes. And this is an interesting one because Anthony Smith sometimes, not sometimes, is almost always underrated in the sense that, he's not necessarily the favorite in a lot of fights, and I think rightfully so. He's 37-20. He has 2-3 over his last 5. Lost it to Johnny Walker, Khalil Roundtree by knockout, and Roman Dolidze. He did fight to a decision with Roman Dolidze, who can be known to land powerful punches, but can also known to be not. I think this was an opportunity where you got the less than exciting Roman Dolidze. So I guess that was good for Anthony Smith, or some would say maybe Anthony Smith shut him down. I'm not so sure. Anyway. His wins are over a guy like Vitor Petrino by submission and Ryan Spann by split decision. Anthony Smith is the guy who can sometimes find that kind of last second, choke or submission, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in him. And even though Dominic Reyes is 1-4 over his last 5, one of them is a win/loss to John Jones, and then he's got a knockout to Jan Blachowicz, spinning elbow to Yuri Prochazka, neither of which is anywhere, close to the competition that Anthony Smith is. Anthony Smith is far below them, and then he's got a power jab knockout to Ryan Spann, which I think that was a product of not having, really his chin or his legs back under him after those concessive knockouts. Still, I don't think of Anthony Smith as a knockout puncher either necessarily for Dominic Reyes to be afraid of. He's got a win from 5 months ago over Dustin Jacoby, who is a kickboxer. So I like Dominic Reyes here. He's got strong grappling to be able to keep this one on the feet. I think he's better standing than Anthony Smith. He's got far better, pedigree when it comes to standing battles. As long as his chin holds up, I think he'll get this one done. So I'm going with Dominic Reyes. Jesus Christ, I fumbled that. What say you, Keith?
I say that Anthony Smith's chin is better then Dominic Reyes, and Dominic Reyes eats the worst of the two shots. And while this will be a 14-minute slop fest, minute one, when you look at it and it like counts down and when they tell you the result, it says like 59 seconds. I think that's where you'll see Anthony Smith TKO victory. Dominic Reyes is inactive entirely compared to Anthony Smith. Dominic Reyes, those 5 fights that you listed have taken place in a 4-year span. Anthony Smith, his last 5 fights have been in the last 2 years. He's active as anybody.
Yeah, he's got the shit beat out of him a lot.
Sure, he's had the shit beat out of him, but ring rust is real. And Anthony Smith can take a beating. I mean, right? Fuck, Anthony Smith. I'm like over here going Dominic Smith. I'm on shot 285 out of 310. If you were here in the beginning, I said I was taking 310 shots of Jameson today for UFC 310. So,
looking good for 285.
Yeah. I'm up to UFC 285, which we covered that. I can't remember who the main event was. Was that like an Alex Tejeda card? I don't know. But now at this point, it would be kind of funny if Anthony Smith was on UFC 285.
John Jones, Cyril Gahn.
Oh, okay. What was 286? Because I'm about to take another shot. But anyways, yeah, I just think Anthony Smith has been way more active, is a way more, like, not only like active in terms of like octagon years and who's been in there more recently, but I also think he's more active in the octagon. Dominic Reyes sits back a little bit more. I think it's going to be a 15-minute slop fest, and I think it's going to be a shitty split decision. Take back what I said about Anthony Smith saying over Dominic Reyes. That's just like pipe dreams. I think it's going to be a 15-minute slop fest that ends in a split decision. So I'm going to stay away from this one. My pick is Anthony Smith because of the activity. But hold on, time for that shot.
286 was Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman.
Wow, we're working our way on up.
Headshot dead.
Yeah, wow. Fuck, dude. Take me down memory lane over the past couple of years. Yeah, I'm going with Anthony Smith.
All right. Main card time, dude.
What? Raise the roof because it's main card time. And this is one that I'm fucking pumped for. Like, I'm so excited for this fight. And you notice as I drink more Jameson, I start dropping more profanities just casually. They call it cursing like a sailor for a reason because sailors drink a lot. And Nate Landwehr, I don't know if he drinks a lot, but when he talks, he sounds like he drinks a lot. Yeah, yo, man, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. He's got like that very like New Orleans accent, He's like, but I'll never forget, who was that? David Onama. The David Onama Nate Landwehr fight. And tell me, did he win that fight? He did.
Majority decision.
God, brother. Listen, I think that was on the Vicente Luque Bilal Muhammad fight night card. Now, my memory would be real good if I remember that. I don't know if you want to check that on me real quick, but I think that was when Vicente Luque and Bilal Muhammad fought in the main event. Anyways, Nate Landwehr has that fucking dog in him. That fight made me a Nate the Train fan.
Marlon Vera, Dominic Cruz.
Really? Huh. Interesting. Because I vaguely remember it being like such an exciting co-main event and then such a shitty main event. And that's why I thought it was Bilal Muhammad. But anyways, yeah, Nate Landwehr established himself as an absolute dog that night because he was knocked out by David Onama. And whoever was the ref probably heard Dean let it come back, let David Onama win that one. After basically being knocked out and David Onama gassing out. And then you look at Nate Landwehr and you're like, yo, he was asleep 10 seconds ago. And now he's beating the ever-living shit out of David Onama. How is this happening? And then you have Du Choi, who is 2-3 over his last 5, but he's still solid. He's got good hands. He's got a good chin. Wins over Bill Algeo and Cal Nelson. I'm going with Nate Landwehr here. I don't give a shit. I'm going with Nate the Train. Fuck Du Choi. Nate the Train is going to go out there, and he is going to make this entertaining. And there's a reason why they moved Anthony Smith versus Dominic Reyes off the main card to the prelim featured fight. And this to the opener of the main card because Nate Landwehr is going. Both of these guys throw. Well, Doohoo Choi and Nate Landwehr both throw like animals. They are willing to do a Max Holloway, stand in the middle and throw. They won't because their careers are also very important to them. And, you know, you have to be somewhat tactical and somewhat efficient out there. But
at least for the first bit.
Yeah. But I think that Nate Landwehr is going to go knock out Doohoo Choi. And both these guys are going to be throwing, and Nate Landwehr just has the better chin. He's really got that dog in him, dude. There's no other way to put it than grittiness, determination, and he's got that fucking dog in him. He will eat shots, and he will come back, and he will give you 3 more harder than the one that you gave him. And I don't think Doohoo Choi is ready for this fucking – where is he from? Tennessee. He ain't ready for this Tennessee train, baby. He ain't ready for Nate the Train from Tennessee. I'm pumped. I'm going Nate the Train all the way here. What do we got?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Nate has an overpowering style here. I think it's going to be great. I think both of them are going to be swinging. I think it's going to be a sick fight. And I think Nate's going to win. There's a reason why it's opening up the pay-per-view card. So,
don't be surprised if it's a first-round knockout, because I think that both of these guys, being who they are, like Doohoo Choi will be willing to stand with Nate Landwehr. He will be willing to just fucking bang with him, and Nate Landwehr will knock him the fuck out round 1. If that's what Doohoo Choi want to do, then Doohoo Choi gonna be sleeping. And then we got Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie coming up right afterwards. We got to see Kron Gracie live too, right? Like you got to see a couple of fighters on this
card.
Like
a revival.
5 of them?
No, I said it was like a revival.
Oh yeah, somewhat from when we got to go to the Prudential Center, The Rock. What was that, 2 years ago now? 2 or 3 years ago? Yeah, we got to see Aljamain Sterling fight. We got to see Movsar Evloev, and we got to see Kron Gracie. And Kron Gracie, Charles Jourdain. And Charles Jourdain gave him that 1-2. And then the rest of the night, Kron Gracie wanted a butt scoot. And I think that Bryce Mitchell is, for the first time in his life, the better striker. He got knocked the fuck out by Josh Emmett. And he got knocked the fuck out by like Ilia Topuria 2 fights before that. Totally forgivable, right? Yep. Man, my memory is on point tonight, except for that fucking Nate Landwehr fight. And I think that Bryce Mitchell is actually going to have the striking advantage for the first time in his career. And I think he's going to go 1-2, hit Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie's going to drop to his butt, try and butt scoot. Bryce Mitchell's going to go to the ground with him. And I have like this weird feeling that Kron Gracie's gonna submit him. I got like a sick feeling that like Kron is gonna somehow find a way to submit Bryce Mitchell, because Bryce is gonna be like, fuck it, I'll go to the ground. And like his ground game is his best feature of like him as a fighter. You know, like Bryce is incredible. One of 3 or 2 twisters to be pulled off in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
But Kron Gracie is Gracie. And so I feel like if you're feeling like real wild boy, like put $5 to win 100, that's like Kron Gracie by submission type shit. But I don't know. I'm all in on Bryce Mitchell. I think this is bounce back era for Bryce Mitchell. I think that he finally puts it together. You know, like a couple of years ago, we were all saying like, America, you have a Khabib, because like, I mean, I think people were saying that. I think that actually was like a Joe Rogan quote after a fight. And then he didn't look like Khabib for a while, but I think that this is a big fight for him. And at the very least, if he's intelligent about it, he'll show off his striking ability. I don't want him to go to the ground with Kron, because Kron could fucking make him tap, but like, because Kron's a Gracie, and Kron is here for a reason, not only here in the UFC, but here in the placement that he is, because like this might be an incredible grappling match. I think it more than likely will be, and like it makes me nervous. I'm going with Bryce Mitchell, but like because Kron is, I mean, what he's plus 425. Like imagine him by sub is probably plus like 6 something. That's good money right there on Kron Gracie when this is going to be a fucking jiu-jitsu match. So I'm going with Bryce Mitchell, but don't be surprised if Kron Gracie gets done as like the big dog on the main card. But I'm going with Bryce Mitchell. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also gonna go with Bryce Mitchell. I think that he has a stronger grappling. I think wrestling beats jujitsu, 7 out of 10 times. And I also think that Kron Gracie, even though it says he's got 7 fights, he's got five. He's got 7 fights total. 5 wins, 2 losses. 2 losses came inside of the UFC. He's got one other win inside of the UFC. Other than that, and that was by Alex Caceres via submission, who's good but also wild. Other wins are outside of the UFC and Ryzen by submission. I think when he's got people, he's also got long time ago. At 36 years old, leaving his prime, not going to be as fast. Bryce Mitchell at 30, really entering his prime here, a little bit of a bigger guy. He's got that farm strength, so probably a lot stronger than like his physique would lead on. I think Kron Gracie's a guy who relies too heavily on the jiu-jitsu, doesn't have great striking, and he is susceptible to getting hit because he's almost trying to play too much of pure jiu-jitsu. I expect Bryce Mitchell, a guy who thrives on grappling and ground and pound in an aggressive dominant style there. I expect Bryce Mitchell to go out there and get this one done fairly easily. I could see him even finishing Kron Gracie, or even if he doesn't, I think Kron Gracie's probably beaten pretty well. I would expect Mitchell to win this one 30-27, and I would feel really, really strong about that. Moving up on the main card, we have Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian here. I know Cyril Gane, his 2 losses are to Francis Ngannou and to John Jones, but he's been out for a year, and you were talking about how real ring rust can be. Minus 260 favorite, only 2 years younger, a little bit smaller in terms of height, just about the same length. I just haven't seen Cyril Gane be really great in any area. He's solid in a lot, and I think Volkov has really solid takedown defense. I'm not so confident that Cyril Gane is going to go in there and be able to get a takedown, overpower him. And I'm also not so sure that Cyril Gane has much better striking. Volkov is, he's got an 80-inch reach, but he's 6'7". He's got really long legs. He's not as much all torso. He's got long legs, and I think he's got really good kicks that he'll be able to land on Cyril Gane. And at plus 210, I'm on Volkov. And you look at, the Tapology odds, 38% on Volkov. Yeah, I kind of like Volkov to get this one done here. I think he's, going to use those legs. I think he's a little bit of a better striker. I think Cyril Gane's had some time off. I don't think if he is better in grappling to be able to get Volkov down, I don't think he's going to submit Volkov. And, he has some submissions, but if we look at guys that Cyril Gane has submitted, like to say that he's got ground and pound over Derek Lewis, where's his last submission? He's got a guillotine choke lost by John Jones. Heel hook to Dontel Mays, and arm triangle to Rafael Pistosa. I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but I mean, that's not necessarily the strong grappler, strong submission artist I'm looking for to beat Volkov. So I'm going with Volkov to get this one done, probably by decision, landing those big leg kicks. He could potentially even finish. How many finishes does he have recently? Submitted, knocked out Romanov, knocked out Rosenstrike. Yeah, I can get Volkov maybe to get a potential knockout here if you're feeling frosty and want to bet on it. But I like Volkov actually a good bit here, especially plus 210. What do you think, Keith? You're muted, Keith. You're muted. Keith, unmute your mic.
Fuck, my bad. Damn, I said something funny as shit right there. Well, whatever. Never mind. That's lost to the ether. It was about the shot that I was just taking. Who is Volkov's last loss to?
Tom Aspinall via submission.
What about before that? I'm just curious.
Cyril Gane.
Yeah, Cyril Gane. So this is fight number 2 for these guys. Cyril Gane was way more active back then. Cyril Gane had just that was the fight that brought him into the Derek Lewis win for the intermittent. What do they call that again? What type of champion is that? Internal? No.
What is it?
Intermittent? No.
Not disputed. Interim. You're a
Yeah.
close with intermittent.
Yeah. So basically, what I was saying before you got on was I poured up a double shot, so that brought us like 289 or 287 or some shit. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cyril Gahn here, cause like Volkov is sick, but I don't know if you know this, but Cyril Gahn, you know what he's like almost exclusively been training since he lost to John Jones?
Grappling.
Yeah, no shit, brother. I knew you'd know that. Yeah, no, he's almost been training exclusively grappling, and kickboxing is natural to Cyril Gahn. And his range and his length and his teep kicks. I mean, it's just there's so much already going for him. And yes, you can't exactly learn wrestling at was he fucking 34? Holy shit, dude. Yeah, you can't really learn wrestling at 34.
In
Well,
1 year?
yeah, but is Volkov a wrestler? Or is Volkov
No, not really. Not really. But he's
wrestle against Sergey Pavlovich?
I'm just saying, I don't think that Cyril Gahn is gonna, be that much better wrestling if he chooses to wrestle. Like, I think this is almost certainly gonna be a stand-up fight.
No, but what I can tell you is that in 2 years you can learn how to sprawl. And in 2 years you can learn how to defend takedowns pretty efficiently. And Volkov is not really a takedown guy to begin with, being 6'9". What is he, 6'7"?
Right.
You're not a
6'7",
takedown guy to begin with. I think that when it comes to the striking, Cyril Gahn is just better.
Yeah.
And,
well, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh no, he is. He is.
I don't know.
Because look at the guys that he's beat with his striking. Derek Lewis, right? Okay, Derek Lewis, one punch power, didn't show up for that fight. Sergey
Tuivasa.
Who'd he beat the last time around? Sergey Spivak?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You beat a guy that is not bad. Derek Lewis, and then, before that, it's just
Sergey Pavlovich, anti Tuivasa. Romanov was good at one point. He was 16-1 at that point. Jarzinho Rosenstrike by knockout. I mean, listen, let's not diminish Volkov. Volkov's been on a tear.
Volkov's a tear, yes, but
he's got a submission win in there. I don't think this is going to go to the ground, dude. But I think
is anybody looking at Volkov and going, "This is the next champ. This is the guy"?
Is anyone looking at Cyril Gahn and saying that after seeing him get demolished by Tom Aspinall?
He got demolished by Tom Aspinall?
Oh, no, sorry. John Jones. Who would get demolished by Tom Aspinall?
Well, now we're talking hypotheticals. But the main thing for me with Cyril Gahn is strike. And this isn't going to be a wrestling match. He's beat him once with his striking. That's shot 289 of Jameson. No, but he's beat him with his striking before. And I think that was in a 5-round fight, I do believe, when the first time these two guys fought. I think it was a 5-round main event. And it was Cyril Gahn piecing up Volkov for 5 rounds. And I think in a 3-round fight, right? You could beat the event. It should be Gahn versus Volkov. Yeah, that was a 5-round fight. And in a 5-round fight, Cyril Gahn went out there and dominated Volkov and made him look like duty balls. Like, he really made him look like doo-doo and fucking kicked the shit out of him, basically. Like, no other way to put it besides he kicked the shit out of him. Like, he just kicked and kicked and kicked, and that's what Cyril Gahn is incredibly good at. And I think that that's what he's going to do, because Volkov, being 6'7", can't really get his legs up there like that. Like, yes, he moves well and his hands are good and he can leg kick and stuff, but the biggest difference is that Cyril Gahn has that teep kick coming up the middle that pushes his opponent back. And no matter how tall you are, if you're getting a set of toes to the abdomen, you're not going to feel great. You're going to bounce back a little bit, and then you're going to come forward. You're going to take these 2 plodding steps forward that Alexander Volkov does. Look for the 1-2. And then Cyril Gahn's going to side kick you, and he's going to roundhouse kick you, and he's just going to do all this funky shit that Cyril Gahn does that looks so nice and it flows so well. And I think that Volkov, it's going to look a lot like the first fight did, where for the first 3 rounds, the first 4 rounds, Cyril Gane was piecing him up and just keeping him at range and doing what he wanted to do. It was really such an efficient game plan from Cyril Gane, and I think he's going to look very similar this time around. I think I even though he's had the time off, Cyril Gane. Here's the thing that we have to keep in mind with him: he was not a fighter to begin with. He was never a fighter. He was a soccer player. He was an athlete. And when it comes to athletes and fighting, and we've seen this quite a bit, fighting is not their bread and butter. And so, like a guy like Cyril Gane, he's still active in athletics. Like, it's not like his whole life in athletics is training fighting. Like, he's playing in celebrity soccer games. He's doing all these different things that just make Cyril Gane who he is. He's so dexterous. You know, the host has muted your mic. Oh my God, what was I talking too much?
No, there was like a weird like feedback. I had to like cut the loop.
I'm sorry. Is it better
No,
now?
good. Yeah, no, it's fixed.
Cyril Gane's going to win this fight by decision. That's my pick. I'll just put it there like that. The dexterity, the use of his limbs, it's too much for a man whose whole game is 1-2 leg kick, 1-2 leg kick, 1-2 leg kick. It's too much for a guy like that. And Sergey Spivak and Tai Tuivasa, they're compact, they're short, they're small for this division because now it's going to be like basketball. In the next couple of years, if you want to compete in heavyweight in the UFC, you're going to have to be 6'4" or taller. Volkov is going to be one of those guys that we look back on and go, holy shit, if he only had the camps that we have now, like 5-10 years from now, this guy would have been the champ. He was 6'7". But today, or this weekend, he's fighting against Cyril Gane, who has too much dexterity, athleticism, and IQ. That's what it comes down to, unfortunately.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I look back at their most recent fight or their fight before this, 139 to 115, significant strikes. Every strike was significant except for apparently 4 by Cyril Gane. I think that you're thinking of a different Volkov. We're dealing with Swolkov. I think he was just getting his footing a little bit in the heavyweight division, and now, like you saw, he's 4-1 over his last 5. I think Swolkov is going to go out there, and I think he's going to impress a lot of people. I think he's going to be able to use those kicks more effectively this time. Go look and looking back there, he won the first round. They were very close to the second round. Gane dominated the third round. They were close again in the fourth round, and then they were tied in the fifth round. So, listen, and I know that strikes and stats don't necessarily dictate how a fight went, but with these guys, they're heavyweights. Cyril Gane has been out a decent period of time. Volkov has been training. He's been in this, more of his life, and he's only 2 years older. He's going to have a longer leg reach. He's a little bit wiser. I like Volkov to get this one done, but there's plenty of fights to talk about. We got 3 left, and this is one of my favorite.
Can I just say something? I'm sorry. The last thing I want to say, the only time I've ever seen Volkov use his range effectively is when I'm playing online in UFC 5. That's it. Other than that, guys, he don't use his range effectively. I'm a fucking Cyril Gane guy. I think he's going to get it done. I love
He
Cyril
used it against Sergey Pavlovich.
I remember. I'll never forget. Well, yes, but Sergey and Tai Tuivasa are small balls.
I don't know. I might take Sergey Pavlovich over Cyril Gane.
Get the fuck out.
I might.
No, because Cyril Gane would teep kick him until he got tired. But the thing about Volkov, I forgot what I was saying. Now, the only time I've ever seen Volkov get used effectively was in UFC. Never in real life. It's like this guy doesn't know how big he is. Maybe he will this weekend, but bro, he's going to try and kick Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane's going to be smarter. He's more athletic. There was a time in my life, and I got into a big argument with a guy I won't say, who used to be a big friend of the program, and now he's no longer like a follower, and I think he blocked us on everything. But
I know. Yeah.
I can't even remember his name, but he's like a fucking loser. Cyril Gahn, I said, might be the most athletic person in the world, and he went into a whole thing. Oh, LeBron played tight end in high school. Bitch, I don't give a fuck. Cyril Gahn is head kicking motherfuckers at like fucking 35 years old and fighting at heavyweight with mano and fuck you. Cyril Gahn is so fucking athletic. That is at a heavyweight such a difference maker. He's such an athlete. Anyways, I'm sorry. Let's talk about this.
I think he is. I just don't think he's committed. I think, he's playing FIFA. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's, taking a year off. I just don't think he's committed. I don't think you're going to get – I think if he applied himself for sure, I just don't think he does. And I think Volkov does. And I think, it requires you at the Volkov level to apply yourself completely. And I don't know that Cyril Gahn does that.
Who beat Volkov when he was the number 5 ranked FIFA player in the world?
Hey, you know what? Things change, though. Things change. Listen, we can agree to disagree. We'll find out on Saturday. We'll find out on Monday.
I'll tell you what changed. Cyril Gahn is not spending as much time on FIFA anymore. He's way less of a video game guy. We'll find out on Saturday, but I'm going full Cyril Gahn. I love that we split here because you and I usually pick very similar. I love that we split here. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Gary. I'll keep this one short, sweet. Both these guys undefeated. Ian Gary is very good. Ian Gary has great striking. Ian Gary's very good at grappling, as we saw with his MVP fight, and he can lay on your back and make you look silly if you're a perennial kickboxer and you don't want to fight in your realm, right? Like when he fights grapplers, he kickboxes. When he fights kickboxers, he wrestles. Shavkat Rakhmonov can do it all. Shavkat Rakhmonov is going to take whatever Ian Gary gives him and say, go fuck yourself and do it better. When it comes to the striking, Shavkat Rakhmonov has more power. When it comes to the grappling, Shavkat Rakhmonov is more of a finisher. Ian Gary, his grappling is like inefficient. It's like lay on you grappling. It's not even like counter. It's fuck it. Shavkat Rakhmonov is gonna put Ian Gary asleep and make us all very happy, whether it be by tap, nap, or a slap. Shavkat Rakhmonov is winning this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm not sure that he's gonna be able to knock out Ian Gary. I think he does have pretty good head movement. No, he doesn't though. Sometimes he leaves his head in the air, and sometimes he can get hit. We saw that in a couple fights. We saw that against Jeff Neal where he got the split decision. Neil Magny, I think, touched him a couple of times. He looked pretty good against D-Rod and Keenan Song. Michael Venom Page, I thought he was going to look better. He didn't, but he was still able to land a little bit. But I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is far more poised and far more well-rounded than any number of those guys. Like you said, tap, slap, or what was the third one?
Tap, slap, or nap. Now, technically what they say in jiu-jitsu is tap, snap, or nap.
Okay.
But I do believe that a slap could knock out Ian.
So you're expecting a finish. I don't know if I'm expecting a finish here, but I think Shavkat has an ability to get it done in any of the variety of the ways. Obviously, by decision, I think he could land more striking. I think he has better, takedowns if it does go to the ground. I think he has more of a submission to finishing ability on the ground there. I think he's just more well-versed in every area. He's 18-0 versus 15-0. I think you have a little bit of a padded record when you look at Ian Gary. You got Jeff Neal, Michael Page, which is solid win, striking, but doesn't exhibit really much ground game or grappling efficiency there. He does have a little bit. He likes to hold guys up against the fence, and I think we can see that against Shavkat Rakhmonov here. But I think Shavkat is far too, nimble, adept, and has a strong enough IQ to get off the fence. I think it's going to be close in the beginning round, but only get more of a disparity as the fight goes on. Is this a 3-rounder or a 5-rounder? I can't.
It's a 3-rounder, I do believe, but it is a title eliminator, so it could be either way. I just want to say I'm sorry for getting us copyright flagged by YouTube by clicking on Chuck Buffalo's Instagram post. He has a picture of Bryce Mitchell and his shut off music. Fuck. Anyways, whoever Bryce Mitchell's been training with looks a lot like Ian Gary. And yeah, so regardless, so I do think Ian Gary's gonna get finished. And like I'm fucking hoping for it. Like I really hope that this like mute horse meat eating fuck knocks out this fucking piece of shit. Like, bro, how you Irish and you're not even gonna drink Guinness or Jameson? You know, you like how I said that, Guinness or Jameson. I didn't do that on purpose. I said Guinness the wrong way at first, and I was like, "Fuck."
And then you had to compensate with the Jameson.
Yeah, it's Jameson. I'm drinking Jameson. Yeah, no, it's Ian Gary. I think it's Ian Gary. No, I think it's Shavkat. I think Shavkat's gonna fuck him up, dude. Like I really think he's gonna make him look like shit, and I think he's gonna choke him out in round 3. Like I think in round 3 it's gonna be Shavkat like literally ripping Ian Gary's off his head off his neck. That shot 301, by the way, dude. What are we UFC 301? What was that?
310. We're 310.
No. But I took just 3. I took like no. I'm sorry. That was more like 289. What was UFC 289? What was that? UFC 289. What was the main event there? Because I'm curious. Because now I'm up to shot 209 on the day.
Amanda Nunes, Irene Aldana.
Oh, kill myself. I hope I get 8. So I'm going to take shot 210. What was UFC 210? Google it.
210? You mean 310? Yeah, 289. So you need 290. Volkanovski, Raya, Rodriguez.
Volkanovski had that dog in him. Fuck, I'm fucked up.
Speaking of another guy with that dog in him, both of these gentlemen, what do you think?
I think I feel horrible right now. I'm going with Alejandro Pantoja. I even had to take out my rogue pouch. I'm going with Alejandro Pantoja because Kai Asakura was coming from Ryzen, and we've seen guys come from Ryzen quite a bit. Yuri Prohaska is my favorite Ryzen champion. Coming to the UFC, and what has he done in the UFC?
Nothing.
Besides, like, get knocked the fuck out, knock some people the fuck out. Sure. I'm just gonna be real as fuck with you guys and tell you that I think that Kai Asakura is fighting in the main event this weekend because they didn't have anyone else to put up against Alejandro Pantoja. His last fight was against number 11 Steve Urseg. There's no one in the UFC that's ready to or willing to fight Alejandro Pantoja. Fuck, I'm like spitting all over myself. That last shot of Jameson fucked me up. No, there's like no one willing to fight Alejandro Pantoja in the top 10 and no one that's like worthy to. I think that he's an incredible all-around fighter. Kai Asakura, he could be great. He could be. But the UFC lights hit different. And the UFC stage hits different. And making your UFC debut against the fucking champion is a big deal, especially a guy that's dismantled Brandon Moreno, Kai Kara France, like Steve Urseg, and like just all these names and incredible firepower. And who is Kai Asakura beat? Thank you. Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that guy? So, no, give me Alejandro Pantoja to be beating the best competition in the world because UFC signs the best competition in the world and Ryzen gets who's second best if for that Asia, Eurasia area, right? Russia, Poland, all that. You're second best. You're the B team. Kai Asakura is the B team. They're going out there to fight the A team. Alejandro Pantoja, who's going to dismantle Kai Asakura. Kai Asakura has power in his hands, sure, but I don't give a fuck. Alejandro Pantoja, it's the UFC. It's a guy that worked his way up the UFC versus a guy who has losses in Ryzen. Go fuck yourself. I'm going with Alejandro Pantoja. Easy money. And like we're not even that big of a favorite here. So go fuck yourself. It's Alejandro Pantoja. What do you got, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going with Pantoja. The only thing that makes me nervous about this fight is how aggressively you're for him, and it's really setting you up for like to be on one of those like compilation videos after a guy loses. Like, of course, Pantoja's going to win, and then he ends up losing, and you end up looking stupid. But honestly, I agree with everything you said, though. You know what I mean? So the only thing that scares me is the fact that we're so.
Bless you. God bless you.
The only thing that scares me is that we're so, for Pantoja. He's only a minus 250 favorite. We look at Tapology and, 78% there. I think it's a good bet. I think it's a safe bet. Like you said, Kai Asakura, I don't think has faced nearly the level of competition. These guys are roughly similar in age, 31 to 34 for Pantoja. Roughly about the same size. I guess Asakura is just a little bit bigger, but I expect Pantoja to be able to compete in every area. I think he's a better fighter, probably all the way around. And I definitely don't expect him to find himself susceptible to any traps or anything laid by Kai Asakura. 5-0 over his last 5, dating back to 2021. Impressive wins over both top 2 guys in the division. He's incredibly impressive. Pantoja is, so I expect him to get this one done. I'm not sure how, but honestly, minus 250. That's a solid enough line for me to just take him overall and be happy about it. So
listen, bro, Ryzen is not the UFC. And I think that Brandon Moreno and Brandon Royval both go over to Ryzen and snatch the belts like instantaneously.
Sure.
And what did Pantoja do? Fuck. I'm drunk. What did Pantoja do to both of them?
He beat them for 5 straight rounds. Brandon Moreno was a close round, but Brandon Moreno was close. But Roy beat him for 5 rounds straight.
By the end of that one, listen, I had bet on Brandon Moreno, and by the end of that fight, I had Pantoja. So I think that Pantoja is going to go out there and either finish Kai Asakura, but more likely decision victory. He's not really a finisher, but he will go out there and make it a dogfight, and he will make you very uncomfortable, and you uncomfortable as a fan, but also as the guy that he's fighting too. You're gonna be many moments. Sorry, you're gonna be like, is he winning this? Is he not? But he's gonna go out there and he's gonna do his thing, and I think that 5 rounds you're gonna see. Not Kai Asakura as a guy that makes his debut and he's the winner. And so, like, kind of what I was getting at, and I hate to say it, but like, UFC went heavy with that Macau card, the Macau China card, and UFC is going very heavy with the road to UFC right now. And like, part of me hates to say it, but I really do believe that Kai Asakura was potentially slotted into this spot when there's guys like who I believe Kai Kara France or Abdi what's his name? Fucking wrestler that beat Kai the first time. There's very good 125ers that could be fighting. And imagine weighing in at 125 pounds, you little pussy. But still,
Kai Asakura last weighed in at 133.8. So, I don't know if we look back here. Is he used to making 125? Looks fucking lean in his picture there.
I really just feel like the UFC is just like, oh, we want Asia. So,
well, check this out. He's used to weighing in at 134, so 61 kilograms. So he's cutting an extra 15 pounds, and it's Ryzen. So I believe that they have I guess it's one that has the hydration.
No, you're right. Ryzen has a bigger weight gap as to what they're. You know how the UFC goes like, all right, you weighed in at 135.5 for the 135. Yeah. Ryzen is like 137 for the 135 belt. Maybe I'm wrong, but
But that's 134 for the 125-pound belt here. So he's gonna have to weigh in at 125, not an ounce over.
right, because Ryzen has the rehydration shit.
It was either Ryzen or one, but one of them has it. And either way, he's used to weighing in at 134 pounds. So he's gonna have to cut an extra 9 pounds.
Right, go fuck yourself. Alexandre Pantoja is winning this fight.
Mm-hmm.
And like regardless, even if you don't win it on paper, and fucking homeboy from Japan wins, it doesn't even really matter because he's not going to be allowed to have the belt because he's going to come in overweight. So I'm going Pantoja. That was good timing. That was very well done. I'm going with Kennedy Nzechukwu over Lucas Brzeski, and I'm going with Chase Hooper over Clay Guida. Fuck. I'm going with Michael Chiesa over Max Griffin. That didn't feel right as it came out of my mouth. I'm going with Joshua Van over Cody Durden, Chris Weidman over Eric Anders, Brian Battle, love that one, over Randy Brown. Please don't prove me wrong. Aljamain Sterling over Movsar Evloev. Themba Garimbo over Vicente Luque. Anthony Smith over Dominic Reyes. Nate Landwehr over Dihu Choi. Bryce Mitchell over Cron Gracie. Where are we now? You just jumped up real quick. Cyril Gano, Brown, Alexander Volkov, and Shavkat Rakhmonov over Ian Gary, and Pantoja over Kai Asakura. What do you got?
All right. I agree with you on most of those. Doing Nzechukwu over Brzeski, Hooper over Guida, Chiesa over Griffin, Van over Durden, Weidman over Anders. Though I don't feel confident about that one. I would stay away from that one completely. I would want to say a decision, but you never know what's going to fucking happen in that one. Brian Battle over Randy Rude Boy Brown, Moisar Evloev over Aljamain Sterling, Themba Garimbo over Vicente Luque. Let's do Dominic Reyes over Anthony Smith. Nate Landwehr is moving up on the main card, taking on Dihu Choi. He's going to get the win. Is Crazy Nate the Train. Bryce Mitchell over Cron Gracie in a beatdown. You know what? I'll take the underdog Volkov at plus money, 200 something over Cyril Gane to get it done. Long legs, leg kicks. Let's take Shavkat Rakhmonov to get the decision win over Ian Machado Gary, and then Pantoja to get the win over Kai Asakura, cutting extra weight and coming all the way across the country, fighting first UFC fight in a championship bout here. I like Pantoja to get this one done. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hell
yeah, motherfucker. We got almost the same besides like that Cyril Gane Volkov fight. It's like almost the same.
Pretty close. I think there was one other one. I think you're on Sterling. I'm on Evloev.
Oh, you gotta. Yeah, well, I hope Sterling pulls that one out, and it's not even like just for me, but because like people shit on Aljamain, and I used to shit on Aljamain, but like it was always like listen, I'm shitting on him, but this guy could be really good. Like this guy is like potentially an excellent champion. And then knockout by Sean O'Malley. I really feel like the UFC fucked with that guy, unfortunately. Like they fucked with him with like how short he had between fights. He wasn't really allowed to like put weight back on and get back down to size. Like it was really just like, okay, you're fighting TJ Dillashaw. All right. 3 months later, you're fighting Henry Cejudo. Okay. That you're fighting Sean O'Malley, and it's like just fucking like let the guy live a little bit. And I think at 145 he'll see a lot more success, especially because he's like, what human being wants to cut down to 135 pounds?
I don't know. He said he liked it. I think he likes. Listen, I think he has an advantage from being the bigger guy, and I think that's not going to play into his strengths of a weight class. But
you're going to
We'll
say
see.
he enjoys the pain.
No.
And,
I don't know. I mean, he's so cringeworthy. It's almost like he enjoys the pain of people like hating on him. So I guess you could say something like that.
I still enjoy hating on him. Like, if he loses to Mosar, I'm going to be like, yeah, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you were a UFC champion at one point. But, it is what it is.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is going to be a fun card, though, dude. I'm pumped. And I'm pumped to let you know exactly what's happening. Like, I'm literally going to text you as it's going
Keep
on.
me updated.
I'm going to be like, big left hand by Mosar. Big takedown by Aljamain. Big right hand by Aljamain. Like, I'm literally just going to keep you updated.
Updates by the minute.
Like, bro, you're going to open your phone and not even going to need to look at ESPN or anything because it'll be the most comprehensive breakdown you've seen.
Oh, man.
But with that being said, this wasn't the most comprehensive breakdown you've seen, but it's probably the best breakdown you've seen. So, I see one person in the comments. Yo, motherfucker, leave us a fucking comment, okay? We got SC. Damn, bro, y'all wow.
Holding it down.
That's what he said. He said, damn, bro, y'all wildin'.
That was
They
before
are
your 310 shots, J-Mo.
Well, listen, if they're both bums, tune in, rewind, like it's MTV, and find out who it was that SC was talking about. They are both bums because that was a good fight. That was a good one that we talked about. With all that being said, I just want to say, please like this video. You have no idea how much it helps us. If you like this video, I will do things to you too. I won't even say on video, but like,
all right.